What's up, everybody? What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? We have a new time and a new day, only for this week, as far as I know. And I kind of run the show for the uh, breaking the grade here live. And the reason is because I'm going to my 17th baseball road trip with all of my buddies, and it starts tomorrow.
In the
So
worst
I'm
city in
not
the world, baby.
Dallas
Yes.
is the worst city in the world. Way
Yep.
to start off with a real right hook. I would
Right
say the
hook.
Cowboys
By
are
the
the
way,
worst team in the world.
the baseball weekend is the greatest trip in the world. But
Mhm.
as you go through your rotation, the D word is no bueno. We hate Dallas.
We hate Dallas. We certainly do.
Although
Um,
Dallas in baseball, maybe that could be cool.
Actually, I'll tell you what, and I will, spout off on this after a few adult beverages, is, they stole the Washington Senators from good old Washington, D.C. to become the Texas Rangers. So that will be brought up in addition to the Dallas Cowboys and things like that. But that'll be my weekend. And then, John, I have told you this, and I'm going to take a few days. I'm going to be in Dallas. I'm going to take a few days. I'm going to go to a resort and just try and separate from work a little bit. Um, do some meditation, some massages, and kind of experience a little bit this challenging time that people know about with my dad passing. It'll be 2 months on Saturday. So that is coming as well. How have you been?
Okay. And again, my condolences. I know that's a process, man. I've been with you through this, and we're all with you, and it's tough. It's I'm sure it's just been incredibly overwhelming, and it comes in droves, and the emotions are just unpredictable. I can't imagine, man. So we're just all feeling for you.
Thank you. I'm going to write about this because writing helps me. But I kind of hit on something in a conversation earlier today that I think my biggest challenge with the grieving process is that I'm an entrepreneur. I see problems, I solve them, I move on to the next one. I see problems, I solve them, I move on to the next one. And this grieving process doesn't seem to want to work like that. Like, can't we just solve this thing and just move on, this challenge, this loss? And it's not happening like that for me. And maybe it's not supposed to. So I'm thinking through that as to how the grieving process uh, is not necessarily working the way I thought it would or hoped it would. But my question to you was, how are you?
I'm doing okay. I want to stay on that for a second because it actually brought something up that is probably in the minds of some of our audience who are
Mm.
in the education space. And I don't mean to distract from your personal journey and your personal story, but grieving, trauma, PTSD. Can you imagine? We often throw around words like underrepresented communities. And there's a lot of work that's being done at Penn GSE where whether we're going through a death in the family, we're going through a divorce or a separation, we're going through an illness, we're going through waiting for biopsy, it's pretty traumatic. But when you really think about the underrepresented communities that a lot of our ed tech colleagues are serving, think about 6-year-olds, think about Camila, think about Ben and JJ and our kids. A lot of these kids are not just in underrepresented where they're hungry, where they're dealing with poverty, but they're traumatized. They're coming into school, and we have to be mindful that the way to educate a student through a trauma-informed lens. I mean, imagine what you're feeling, what we're all feeling, what we're all kind of going through with some of these traumatic experiences. Imagine if that's perpetual. Imagine if you were
Mhm.
6, 7, 8, coming into school hungry, coming into school abused, coming into school traumatized. and then being asked to take a park assessment or take a smarter balance
Mm-hmm.
assessment or be able to read at grade level
Mm.
and feeling that craziness, or being in Washington D.C. in the District of Columbia, the most powerful city in the world, and seeing the political turmoil that's happening around you, and how tough that must be for those students who are going through a lot of the things that you and we're feeling, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's totally fair. Point taken. And I can tell you, um, only from my own experience right now, that some of the little things that I want to get done, I'm not doing. And some of the bigger things that I need to do, I'm kind of putting off to the last moment. You're going to hear more about the Ed Sales Edge, which is a membership that we're creating. And I have had to review a lot of it. Alvin's been supporting me on my team with that and record videos. And I've just been putting them off. So today I recorded them. They're not my best. I'm not at my best, but I did them. So to your point of, not only is there what you're experiencing, then you have to do what you have to do, whether you're a 10-year-old going to take a test or whether you're a 46-year-old who has to record videos for a new offer. So I hear you on that. That challenge is very real at every age when you're dealing with that. So yeah, people have been really helpful, and I continue to put this out there only because um, I feel like there's a lot of people who are dealing with this right now, because I think in our age bracket, parents are getting older, so we're seeing more deaths, and then the people who have dealt with it are able to give you nuggets of information that don't make it necessarily easier, but help you to understand what you might be going through. And so that's why I keep talking about this, and I hope that people find it helpful. That being said, we're also here to talk about demos.
Yeah.
And we're talking about a topic, man, that you and I talk about a lot, uh, because it's an interesting topic, and because I don't know if we're always totally aligned on this one, which is perfectly fine. And we re-aired a show that we had done talking about demos because I feel like it's still something that a lot of our audience struggles with. Um, so what we're going to do is kind of talk about first some of the mistakes the founders make. And the first mistake that I find, and hopefully you can kind of either back this up or give me the counterpoint, that most founders make is they lead with features. Here's what our platform does. Here's a walkthrough of every tool that we've ever had. Here is our pricing. So can you validate or tell me a counterpoint to the fact that most founders make the mistake of leading with features when it comes to their demo?
100%. I think that is a classic mistake. I think uh, a great demo starts outside of the room, and that's with the preparation. So as we said on the last episode, on that episode, and as I coach on pitch perfect presentations and pitch perfect demos, really getting a sense of the audience. What are they using for curricular tools? What are they using that aligns with the product or service that you're currently using? What is embedded in their strategic plan? They're all published, that you can use to prepare, to personalize the demonstration that you're about to give. That's the first thing, is winning a demo starts outside of the room.
Mm-hmm.
Once you're inside the room, yeah, I shared that story where I've given some really great demos, and it was like a screech in the record where I started to sense that I was talking too much about the company and talking too much about the solution, because I was just so overjoyed that I had the right audience in the room. I wanted to get right to it. But no, 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 I don't think that's the right way to approach it. I think you've got to set the stage with relating to who is in the room. If we can get a sense for who's here today, if we can get a sense for your role, and then start walking into, without being robotic, the challenge or the problem that you know you're going to talk about with your solution in a way that humanizes that problem, that makes it conversational, that gets people talking openly about it without it feeling um, antiseptic, without it
Right.
feeling robotic, without it feeling like this is part of your talk track or your run of show for your classic demo. The more you can do that, I think the better you'll be.
The really cool part about this particular episode of Breaking the Grade, and I was reminded of it, is that you basically came on the show as the expert.
Mm.
Because this is something I know that you work on a lot. You're very passionate about. I'm passionate about it, and less knowledgeable on it. And so I'm always happy to say, "Hey, let's learn from this person." And one of the pillars of the better demo method is something that you tell me, and you have even told my daughter, and I firmly believe in, which is a mindset shift, which is be interested, not interesting. And so, can you talk about how be interested and not interesting falls into doing better demos?
Yeah. So now that you've done your prep work before the demo and you've identified that parental engagement was a really important core value or strategic driver within that district, and you have a parental engagement solution, and you've done your research on when it was important that that district engaged in parental engagement. It could have been an emergency situation. It could have been reaching out to parents to get them involved in a bond initiative or a fundraising initiative. Could be just rallying support for an event that happened within the district. It could be state championship for the football team. It could be, just about anything. When you get in that room, you can relate to them on that level. And instead of saying, I am John Gamba and I'm Director of Innovative Programs at Penn GSE, it can be, we came here to talk about parental engagement. I'm curious to know some of the stories or some of the initiatives that are happening here that are underscoring the importance before I start talking about a solution that we have that could address some of those challenges or some of those problems.
So you are being interested and not interesting at that point. Um, we are catching people by surprise, maybe, maybe not, maybe nobody cares that we're doing Breaking the Grade at noon Eastern on Wednesday. So if you are available and you are able to chat, tell us who you are, where you are, talk to us about um, your company in the education space, talk to us about what you think about demos. We're here to listen to that. I'm going to see if we can also re-air this show at 1 o'clock tomorrow, so people will catch it at the regular day and time. And Ken will be sitting, watching the comments, and hopefully, well, Ken has listened to us for a long time. He can facilitate a great conversation around demos as well. Um, One of the other parts of our original conversation that you talked about, I'd like you to go through it again, which is the ABC framework: alignment, benefits, and context. And again, this is something now that we are teaching in the Ed Sales Elevation Experience. And so if you can walk through it again and give people the ABC framework.
Yeah, definitely. And again, this is kind of a nuance, having personally done a lot of demos, having managed a lot of direct salespeople who are doing a lot of demos, and having managed a lot of sales leaders who are managing salespeople who are doing a lot of demos. So I've seen a lot. I've seen them go well. I've seen them go not so well, and I want to be clear that there's no one method or one way of doing this. But just to provide that anecdote, I'm going to give a shout out to a company that we've worked with who does the ABC model very well, and that's Will Krasnow from Swift Score, Eval by Swift Score.
Hey, guess what? I forgot to tell you this through all of our conversations. Up on the rooftop of this building, I sat for an hour yesterday and just talked with Will under
Doesn't
the
surprise
sunlight
me.
here in DC. Yeah, he stopped by. We were on the roof. We got talking. We got a lot in common. Will's a great dude. So sorry
Gosh,
to
I hope
interrupt, but
he
I
was
forgot to tell you.
interested. I hope he was interested and not interesting.
He was super interested, and so was I in what he's doing.
Yeah.
Totally. Sorry to
So,
interrupt.
so getting into that. So just as context, Eval by SwiftScore is an AI-powered observation, evaluation, and coaching platform. And just to get into it, ABC. So it aligns to instructional frameworks like Danielson and Marzano. And so when he gets through that interested, not interesting part of a demo, and you got to get through that pretty quick because you got to get to the meat, he's able to pop up the eval platform and knows that if he's meeting with um, Perkiomen School District in Pennsylvania and they use the Danielson model, he better not show how it aligns to the Marzano framework, which is predominant in, say, Texas. So the alignment to frameworks, the alignment to standards, the alignment to pedagogical systems, critically important. Then he goes to the benefits and he's able to say right away, my platform can save 24 minutes in a half hour evaluation. We can do it in 6 minutes or less, and let me show you how. And then context, which I think is critically important, is being able to speak the language of those that you're demonstrating to. So if you're demonstrating to a superintendent, superintendent's thinking about frameworks and strategic values and how it can support um, uh, the district's context. So if you're talking to a chief academic officer, you better be able to talk curriculum, better be able to talk instructional design. If you're talking to a tech director, you better be able to talk about interoperability and integrating with LMS or SIS systems. If you're talking to a PR person, you better be able to talk parental engagement, safety, security, perpetual absenteeism, and the things that are going to drive a PR person within a school district. So, the alignment to standards, the alignment to frameworks, the alignment to instructional episodes. B, the benefits. We say features tell, benefits sell. Really being able to say, how can this product or service save time while increasing the capacity and the competency of coaching in the case of eval and SwiftScore. And then the context is really being able to then, in the spirit of interested versus interesting, then be able to say, now that I've showed you the alignment and we've discussed the benefits, am I safe to assume that the context of saving you time while aligning to your instructional frameworks for observation, evaluation, and coaching is something that would be of interesting to you in the district? And then having that conversation on context, critically important.
And so let me get this straight. So Will goes in there, or you, because you're the master, you go in there, and I'm assuming that you just do your ABC thing and you just put the contract out there and they sign, right? The demo is the close. Is that accurate?
Yeah, so we talk a lot about one call closes, and we talk a lot about contact to contract. And no, it is not common that a one
Okay.
call close happens. Obviously,
Not
I
even
know
for
you're being
you?
facetious. Not even for me. Although I will say that the 500 ventures that I look at each year, I'm always thinking right from the first meeting with them, how can this be one of those that, with some good coaching from Josh Chernikoff on positioning, with some good mentorship from myself, Rita, team at Catalyst Appendiacy, and our ecosystem of support, how can we compress contact to contract to 3 calls in less than 90 days for typically a $25,000 to $30,000 pilot at least? If we know it's going to be 5 calls and we know it's going to be something that's going to have to go out to RFP and take 6 months to get done, we're in big trouble, especially in these hyper turbulent world of ed tech that we live in. So I'm always thinking about it through that context of contact to contract, and I'm always thinking about, if we apply the ABC model, what will that do to bring this down?
Right. One of the parts that we talk about here in the blog is your demo isn't where you close the deal, it's where you earn the right to move forward. Earn the
100%.
right to move forward.
And
If you're tired of
for somebody like Will, who you spoke to, college contact with Sophie and Leah. I'm working with a lot of younger entrepreneurs under 30 um, who are incredibly agile, huge hustle, very gritty, not exhausted like you and I. And if they get coached up on these methodologies and these um, coaching techniques, man, are they dangerous.
Yeah.
Will and Sophie and some of the younger other younger entrepreneurs that I'm working with are getting really good at taking that kind of advice and applying these methods and frameworks to help accelerate the success of their business.
Yeah, Will and Sophie, these people, they're young bucks. I get that. Um, and I certainly feel the other side of the exhaustion currently that we're experiencing um, in life, and that's the way it goes sometimes. However, whether you are a young buck or a little more experienced, shit goes wrong, and shit can go wrong in a demo. So, you got any good stories that you can tell recently or from your past of demos gone wrong, and then how you recover from them? Because a bad demo doesn't mean you have a bad product. It might just mean that you're missing the mark. So there are ways to recover so that the next demo is better. So what happens when shit goes wrong? What do you do?
I think anticipation is the most important part of that question, which is let's anticipate that a demo is going to go wrong. The tech's not going to work. It's going to go down. You're going to get a spinning beach ball, right? And you've got to be able to say the right thing at the right time to be able to recover from that. If it takes you by complete surprise, you haven't prepared well enough. Um, let's also say that in the spirit of good demos happen because of what happens prior to the demo. Again, I I like to coach my mentees to really personalize their demos. So,
Mhm,
how many times do you go to a dashboard and you see a bunch of smiley faces that represent teachers and the growth that they've had by using this product, or the smiley faces of students that represent the growth? Why not personalize that? Now, be careful because you can't breach confidentiality, privacy, and security. But I like to personalize, and if I'm speaking to a superintendent about a observation evaluation platform, what wouldn't it be cool that they see the name of a high school that is within that district in that
mhm,
demo? Would it be cool for them to see actual Danielson framework metrics that would be impacted as a result of that solution? Wouldn't it be interesting if instead of in the Danielson framework, you just randomly go to 3.b and talk about that element of the framework? You go to an actual part of the framework that is known to be a core driver of that district's strategic plan, like student engagement, like cultural inclusivity, like um, voice inflection and classroom management. Um,
mm,
Boy, does that tend to compress contact to contract and get you right to the point where they say, yeah, we want to show this to our HR director, or let's get a couple of principals in the room and figure out how we can move forward. That's how we do it. Preparation, personalization, and responding when shit goes down or shit goes bad.
yeah. From putting on my TV producer hat, which I had to wear at one point, um, one of the things that I suggest to people regarding demos is um, you have your initial call, which a lot of people call a discovery call. I like to call it a confirmation call. Reason I call it that is because you should be putting enough information out there about who you are and what you stand for, who you stand with, who stands with you, um, so that when people meet you, it's not a discovery; it's really a confirmation of who you are. Um, and then we lead to a strategy call or what I call a self-identification call. In between that confirmation and self-identification call is when I think you have an opportunity to send a demo video, and that can be done through Loom. You can control a lot of the elements there, and if something does go wrong, i.e. the developers added something you didn't know about, you can start your Loom over again. And then when you send that hyper-personalized, well-produced video to the recipient, to the superintendent, to the teacher, to the principal, um, when they watch it, you'll know that they've watched it going into your second meeting. And that signals that there's some interest there. They can make comments. So you might be able to understand where they got lost or what was most interesting to them. So to me, this is a really interesting move that people can do. And if you keep your demo under 5 minutes, it doesn't even cost you anything because Loom under 5 minutes doesn't cost you anything. Talk to me about what you think about that strategy.
Dead on. I was going to say under 5 minutes because of Loom, but under 5 minutes because that's the attention span of most people. Don't make the mistake of letting it drag on. I think closer to 2 minutes in this day and age is probably really, really important. The features, the benefits, the contexts, how it aligns, critically important to get that down. Well produced, but not Hollywood production values. A lot of people say, "Do I need to, go into a studio?" No, you just can't phone it in. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I also ABC. We didn't talk about this on the last episode about this subject, but I'm reminded of some work I did on decision sciences in my 20s, and we used to talk about, and you just raised it with confirmation, Josh. We used to talk about the decision triangle. What are the
Mm.
three things that need to happen as somebody's making a decision about your product or service? And that could be Oreo cookies, or it could be an observation platform, or it could be a school to home communications platform that is going to be used in the event of a Columbine. And the decision triangle says in 4 minutes or less, 5 minutes or less, what is the information that I have to provide to get you excited about my product? What are the implications of that information? If I've provided this, then that must mean that they would be interested in that. The implications of that information. And then what are the confirmations that I need to provide to be able to build on that information and those implications? A lot of that could be points, rewards. You think of, McDonald's points back in the 80s when around the Olympics they were giving people, they were selling their product, and then people were actually using the confirmations of the points, the rewards, the gold medals that they would open with their sweepstakes to be able to get more.
Mm.
Confirmed the buying decision and got them to come back for more. I'm always thinking about that and challenging my mentees to think about the information, the implications, and the confirmations required to influence and compress that contact to contract.
Cool. Speaking of those mentees and the work you do, and that beautiful logo right above my head is the Penn GSE Catapult logo. Can you talk about that? And I will flash up the QR code.
Yeah. So the only thing that we really sell at Penn GSE, everything that we do is free, from our office hours to our Milken Penn GSE business plan competition. We've recently launched the Catapult Virtual Accelerator and the Catapult Virtual Accelerator Advanced Membership. And for $399, you get an assessment of your business. And then you get a self-paced standalone virtual accelerator that gives you insights through the lanes of leadership, product market, and fundraising to help advance your business from startup mode to prepare you for a seed plus, or Series A raise. There's 24 waypoints, usually takes about 4 or 5 months. $399, one-time fee, lifetime membership, highly recommended. And in that process of experiencing the virtual accelerator, you get access to knuckleheads like you and me, strategic advisors who help you on those 4 lanes of acceleration.
Lucky you. Lucky you for getting
Lucky
access
them.
to a couple of knuckleheads. And then also talk about, if you can, the event in New York, which we will be at, please, in
Sure. For
September.
those of you who don't know, we have our Milken Penn GSE business plan competition now in its 16th year. We've supported 1,500 entrepreneurs, given away $2 million of non-dilutive capital, and those companies have gone on to raise 200 million in follow-on capital. We have our annual pitch finals in New York City on September 11th, Thursday, September 11th. Ed Sales Elevation and Josh Chernikov is a featured sponsor of our Audience Choice Award, which is awesome, and will be a judge in the competition. Access to the competition for those of you who are in New York is free. Just Google Milken Competition Finals. Milken Competition Finals. Sign up and join us in New York in the afternoon of September 11th. We are going to have 7 awesome finalists from 500 applicants pitch for 250,000 in cash and prizes. So super excited. It is in association with the Holland IQ Back to School Summit, the Milken Finals, Milken Penn GSE Business Plan Finals. Google it. Sign up. It is free to come join us for the afternoon. We'll be excited to see you.
Awesome. I'm happy to give away that award. I feel like I am such a People's Choice Award. That fits me really well. So I'm excited to be a part of that. And then I'll talk a little bit about the Ed Sales Elevation experience and our community, which anybody can join and learn more about it there on that QR code. We have worked with 163 companies since basically launching the Ed Sales Elevation experience back in 2023. And it's a wonderful community of people that you can join by snapping that QR code. And we're going to have some more information about the Ed Sales Edge, which is coming along. And that is a membership that is paid, but it'll be $30 a month to start. And what we're going to be doing is kind of getting people to the edge of getting traction here, getting people together so that they can start to feel the traction. Only education founders. And we'll meet twice a month. And so people will hear more about that. For now, that 3E QR code is the best way to kind of get into our group and to learn more about the Ed Sales Elevation experience. And we appreciate growing that community every single day. We're having people knock on the door and they can come right in, assuming they're from the education space. That's the only real key there. So
when is Gaga going to be a spokesperson for you all?
When is Gaga? Lady Gaga?
Yeah, Lady Gaga. The Edge of Glory, man. One of my favorite songs.
That's a great question. And you bring up one of my most favorite moments, and this comes at an interesting time, if I'm reading it correctly. One of my favorite moments in all of Howard Stern. I think you and I have shared this moment back and forth.
Insane.
When Gaga comes on at 5:45 in the morning. I remember watching it. I was living on 14th Street in DC and started singing live Edge of Glory, and it was unreal. And Howard says it's still one of the top moments in the Howard Stern show. It looks like it's being canceled. Did you read that? Stern show is going to be canceled on Sirius.
Is he not renewing again? He always says he's not.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's a little bit of both sides this time.
Is it? I mean, he is 70, right?
Yeah, dude's done it, and they certainly have enough content to re-air. We'd never know.
We would never know. That's crushing. He's such, I still listen when I rent cars, and I don't have Sirius, but when I rent cars, I'm like, man, I go right to 100 and I listen, and it's like nothing's changed.
Yeah. Well, you grew up with it. I mean, I feel like people.
1986, Josh. 1986, I was listening to Howard Stern.
Wow.
Think about that.
I wasn't listening at that point, but I feel like people. Well, he was at DC 101, big in Philly, big in New York. So, Edge of Glory, Howard Stern, us. We will re-air this show. I am hoping tomorrow at 1:00 Eastern. So for people who are listening, you can comment, and Ken will lead the discussion. We'll also re-air it on Tuesday at 1:00 Eastern. This is such an important show, and I really love the fact that you are the guest in this case. and I get to learn from you on how to do the demo because it really helps me to solve um, a question that I have over and over again about how to do demos right. And I think that a lot of people do demos wrong. And when you have somebody face to face, you should keep looking at them face to face. And when you bring up a demo and say, can you see my screen, or is everything okay? Like, things go wrong. So you have shown us again, and it's worth repeating, things like the ABC method: be interested, not interesting, and then what happens when shit goes wrong. So thank you for giving us that insight again and again.
You're welcome. It's awesome. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to support you. Again, my condolences. We're here for you. Reach out. Um, don't isolate. Let it out. I know how hard that is. I'm guilty when I start having the crazy going on in my brain. Sometimes it is important just to go on a long walk, but it's important to stay connected and know that we're all here for you.
Cool, man. I appreciate that. I am going to go on a very, very long walk in outside of Dallas for a couple days. It's going to be walks on the golf course with my bag. It's going to be walks to the spa, walks to the pool, and just take a load off. And hopefully, when we come back, I'm going to have a little bit better setup of my studio here. I'm still getting adjusted to that, light wise, camera. I just realized, look, here's my microphone.
Yeah.
It's not doing me very good right now, but hopefully I'm loud and clear. So yeah, man, we improvise and we adjust every single day. We have to do that as founders. We have to do that as people. It's wonderful to be able to do it with you in my life and with all the other people in our lives who are supporting us, and we get to support them. So the better demo method, part deux, is just an
Part
ongoing
two.
conversation that we'll keep having.
In closing, as you're doing your walks, going to the pool, doing your massages, it goes without saying, wear your sunscreen.
That's right. Tony Kornheiser used to sign off with, if you're out, I think, what did he say? If you're out there, do wear white. If you're out there on your bike, do wear white. So yours can be wear sunscreen. And I think
SPF.
that's a really good reminder, and I'm not good at it, but
Wasn't it
I
Bob
take it from
Barker
you.
always spayed and neuter your dog? I'm always going to close with
Yeah.
that. Use your
Every
SPF.
every good kind of host has their sign off. So I think for you, we will have to let people say the only good thing about me not having the best lighting right now is I look like I've been sitting in the sun, of course, wearing my sunblock for the last couple of days.
Are we
You
gonna?
know,
Can't we just sign off with F Dallas? We
you know
can't do
what?
that.
We can, and since we're adults and since this is our show, we could actually say the F word
Yeah, I
if you
don't.
wanted to.
I might get fired if it gets to my dean and to my
Okay.
leadership. So I won't do that, but I'm close because that's how I feel about that.
Football season is coming, and I'm
It is.
excited
It's kind
about
of
that.
great to see them kind of imploding too, with a GM who just constantly wants to just tear things up and tear things down. Pay the man
Pay the man. I
or
hear you.
send him to Philly,
Well,
just not
or
to the Commanders.
no, I mean, they can't be dumb enough to send them in the division.
I don't know,
Um,
Jerry. You saying can't be dumb enough about Jerry Jones is not.
that's true. That's true. Well, football season is coming, and this has been another great edition of Breaking the Grade, a little bit earlier than usual. So we'll re-air twice because this information deserves to be heard again and again about the better demo method. So appreciate everybody
Talk
joining,
soon.
John. I appreciate you adjusting your schedule and making it
Thanks for accommodating. I
today at noon.
appreciate it.